Afternoon, directors. My pleasure to call the meeting to order for November 19th and proceed straight away with the election of your chair, and would take nominations from the floor to start that process. Thank you. Director Chapman.
Okay, got to use the microphone. I nominate Mark Baker as Chair of the Regional District.
Second.
Director Baker, would you accept that nomination?
Yes.
Thank you. Are there further nominations for the position of chair?
Nobody wants it.
For the third and last time, any further nominations for chair? Hearing none, we'll declare Director Baker elected as chair for 2026. And proceed with the election of the vice chair.
I nominate Director Vanish.
Director Vanesh,
Second.
you've been nominated. Would you accept that nomination?
Oh, I do, thank you.
Thank you.
I don't see that we have Director Jack here. I was going to nominate him to continue on. Do we know if he's on the line?
I don't know if he's available online or not.
So it doesn't look like he's asked for an invite, which typically would mean he would be here. So he's not physically here and hasn't asked for an invite in the invite.
So just a point of order, do we have to have their permission as part of the process?
But say that again, sorry?
Do they need to affirm that they're prepared to be set up for nomination as part of the process?
Well, you have to be at the meeting to be nominated.
Are there further nominations for vice chair position?
I'd like to nominate Director Sinnott.
Director Sinnott, would you accept that nomination?
I would.
Thank you. Any further nominations for vice chair? Hearing none, we will have an election between Director Vanesh and Director Sinnott. And we'll let Edie pass out ballots. This will be a secret ballot.
That's okay.
Thank you.
So it does appear that neither candidate has received the sufficient votes to be elected as vice chair. So under your rules of procedure, we will conduct the vote again and see if we get the same result or a different result. So Edie? That's right. No, they need 8 votes.
How many do you need?
8.
Just enjoy the show.
It was not a tie vote, but no candidate got the at least 8 votes. Yeah. we're still unable to declare either candidate successful. And under your procedure bylaw, we're required to produce a winner following 4 ballots. We've only gotten 2 so far. So is it the board's wish to continue with the ballot process, or do you want to proceed directly to a lot draw?
Lot draw.
Director Lott?
Yeah, I'd like to move lot draw.
Just because it rhymes? I'm just kidding. A lot draw would be whereby both names are put into a container, and someone, perhaps the chief administrative officer, would be asked to draw one of the names out of the container. Director Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Yates. I would suggest, before going to another ballot or a lot draw, is that we allow both candidates 3 minutes to provide us a speech of what their vision would be and go from there.
Is there any time limit? 3 minutes. 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Unless I hear objection from the board directors, that would be probably a good suggestion. So I think in the order that the nominations were made, Director Vanesh, would you like to say a few words?
Sure, thank you. This is fantastic democracy in action. I think you've all seen the vigor and the passion that I brought to this board table, working for my community and working together to move the priorities of this board forward. And that's something that I would bring to this leadership position. When I'm in meetings at UBCM, I'm speaking loudly and strongly for the needs of this entire district, and I will bring that same passion. I believe deeply in the power of government to have an impact on people's lives, and the decisions that we make here are important. And as the vice chair, I would be a candidate for all of you. I'd be a candidate for Campbell River. I'd be a candidate for Zabalis, Tassis, Kaikut, Chetsuke First Nation, Tassis, Sayward, on all the areas. Gold River, of course, Michael. I'm honored to be nominated, and I appreciate you considering your support for me. And I promise to hold this position with integrity and passion. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Sinnott?
Yes, thank you. So everyone knows I have been vice chair, and it's not very often that you serve, but the most important event I felt very special about was what Director Rice did this year, which was represent the SRD at the Remembrance Day, which I think was a really nice thing to be able to do because our current chair is in his own community. The other thing is I can run a meeting very quickly and efficiently, I think, and make sure that we get through our business promptly, and as well as represent the interests of the region as a whole, because I'm very much into the regional approach. There you go.
Thank you. So with the board's indulgence, we'll proceed with the third round of balloting, and we'll see what transpires.
Well, we got some time to kill. I'm going to read this off. Quick reminder about the upcoming 2025 Director Holiday event. This year's celebration will take place on December 10th at the Coast Discovery Inn. We're looking forward to an enjoyable evening with great food, plenty of laughter, and some fun entertainment. If you haven't already done so, please submit your response by noon, November 28th, so staff can finalize the catering numbers. Thank you, and hope to see you all there.
Well, directors, we still have not reached a conclusion on the process. Neither nominee has received the minimum requirements. So it's the board's choice. Do you want to proceed with the fourth round of balloting, or do you want to proceed directly to a lot draw?
I'd like to move a lot draw.
I'll second that if it needs a second.
So the motion is to proceed to a lot draw for selection of vice chair. All those in favor? Opposed? 2 opposed? 3 opposed, sorry. Okay. So if I could ask Edie? Thank you.
The CO did not pick. The CO.
Let's make that perfectly clear.
Because that darn building is little angles.
Thank you. Director Vanesh has been elected as vice chair. Thank you.
Well, congratulations to Director Varnesh. Thank you all again for electing me chair for the 4th year. I appreciate that very much. I will try to make you proud. Confirmation of quorum. We have called meeting to order. Vice Chair. We'll acknowledge that we're located on the traditional territory of the Lakota people. Adoption of public agenda.
Second.
Second, Director Mulwiney. Director Kerr.
Thank you, Chair. If I could just move that we alter the agenda to move my report, director's report, out to following the delegations.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Petition and delegations. Stephen Watson, Communication Stakeholder Engagement Lead, will provide an update on BC Hydro's upgrade work at John Hart. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much, Board Chair, and it's great to be back to provide an update on the dam safety upgrade projects in the Campbell River system. We've been engaging the community and consulting with First Nations on the dam safety upgrade projects since 2014-15, and so I appreciate the opportunity to update you on where things are at. So first of all, a little bit about the watershed. These facilities were built in the 40s and 50s. We have the Strathcona Dam on the top right. That holds back water on Upper Campbell Reservoir about a lake, about 80% of the water storage in the system. Lador Dam is downstream, holds back water at McIver Lake, Lower Campbell Reservoir, and of course the John Hart Dam and the John Hart Reservoir. On the bottom left there is the Quinson River Diversion Dam, and we can divert water from that system when there's enough water to do so into Lower Campbell Reservoir. So water is generated largely 3 times, so it's very efficient, about 250 megawatts of power. But we do manage for drought conditions, flood risk management, domestic water supply from the John Hart Reservoir, summer recreation targets for recreation to fish flows in the Lower Campbell River itself. So pretty complex system and an interesting system. We do have Alertable, which the shout out for the city and the regional district for people to sign up for in terms of emergency issues or concerns such as flood risk management or earthquakes. So I encourage people to sign up for that if they haven't. So dam safety, we live in a very active area, as we all know, deep crustal surface, Cascadia subduction zone type earthquakes. And so BC Hydro is very focused on that in our facilities. So we have 3 extreme consequence dams on these, on the Campbell River system. And so we want those dams to withstand a major earthquake and safely pass water downstream. So that's what these projects are about. So protection of downstream public safety. So Strathcona is just starting up literally this week, so all 3 projects are now into construction. So I'll go through where we're at. And understanding we have environmental management plans, we're considering social considerations and environmental considerations as we build these projects. So this is the John Hart Dam looking straight down at it, and it's just over 800 meters long. Those green colors are upstream and downstream berms to widen the dam so it can withstand the shaking of a major earthquake. The red line in the middle there is an additional water seepage barrier in the Earthfill Dam. We also have an overflow spillway being placed underneath the road deck on the concrete main dam, and we're replacing all the spillway gates and related equipment for that. So where we're at, so there's different components. The first component of this upgrade is the civil work. So that started in summer 2023. It's tracking well, on schedule for spring of 2027. We're imminently going to issue a request for proposal for the hydromechanical part of the project, which is the spillway gates. So that work will start in summer 2027 through 2029. We've had about 130 people working at the site since the project started, and this is the most important stat of all, that we've had about 828,000 person-hours of work without a lost time accident. So we've had a number of milestones. Basically, all the earth-filled berms that I showed you, those green-colored areas, will all be in place by spring of next year. The H-pile work here shown at the base of the Middle Earthfill Dam is just to anchor that dam into the ground itself, so for stability. So that's what that is. Kind of a unique element to the project. So really, we'll be focused on the overflow spillway section on the concrete main dam, and then rebuilding the road deck across it, so we can access those spillway gates for 2027. So I'm just going to show you some drone photos from April and September of this year. This is looking up from the old Penstock corridor and the old intake dam to the John Hart Reservoir, so you can see the big berm being placed downstream of it. This is over the reservoir where we can see the work zones protected by 2 silt curtains to protect water quality within the reservoir for fish habitat, as well, of course, as the city's domestic water intake. It's very close to the right silt curtain, and the city water intake is just on the far right there. And this is looking from Dolphin Pool, looking upstream. You can see on the left there the Middle Earthfield Dam and the completed berm work and the H-piles in place at the base there. And on the right is the North Earthfield Dam nearing completion there. And then this is just a more recent photo of the old intake and how that material is filling in. So that whole area there will be one big berm to maintain that stability for the dam. And this, in the middle of the photo here, you can see this is where we're creating this overflow spillway. So we've removed the road deck, a lot of concrete work and complexing there. And as I say, looking to have that work in place by spring of 2027. And this is with one of the silt curtains gone in the foreground there. Turbidity settled out. We removed the silt curtain. Very successful. And you can see the upstream berm in place and the downstream berm is nearing completion. So far, so good with that project. The Lador Dam, the spillway upgrades there, crews mobilized earlier this year, access roads, preparing the site for the control buildings and the backup power supply buildings. We actually started work on the spillway gate there on the right this late summer. That'll be about a year, and we're replacing 1 spillway gate per year, so all 3 are in place by 2028. This will create about 70 jobs within the local community. And once again, safety is very important, and we're around 100,000 person hours of work without a lost time accident. So this is a much smaller area. The dam here is about 95 meters long compared to well over 800 for the John Hart Dam. So a lot of logistics in bringing in equipment, and but so far it's working out quite well. We've got the boat ramp there on the bottom right, accessing for the barge and crane, and then a service barge moving around to do the work on that left spillway gate. And here's a nice drone shot of the access road coming into the site. Unlike John Hart Dam and Strathcona, there's no public roads or trails in this area, so it's helpful from a public safety point of view. Another vantage, kind of looking up at the facility here on the right, and the dam, and the crane working its way through. It's a very small area on the top of the dam. So a lot of logistics with that and access on the barge. And we are doing drilling and anchoring the dam to the bedrock below. So there's some drilling activities going on right now. But a fascinating project within a small working area. So Strathcona Dam, John Hart Dam is civil work and spillway gates. Lador is more about spillway gates. This one is essentially about spillway gates, but also a deep low-level outlet channel built on the left side of the dam that will connect into the spillway channel you can see there. And so this enables us to lower the water level right after a major earthquake to ease pressure on the dam. It also gives us water management flexibility, especially in drought years, because the spillway gates are actually quite high up on the reservoir, so that'll be great. So we did go through all the regulatory approvals. Flatiron is our general contractor that'll be building the project, and they're literally just mobilizing this week at the site. And we have the 4-year road closure across the Strathcona Dam that's just started. This project is about 100 jobs, so we're looking overall about nearly 300 jobs for all 3 projects through into 2029 working on these projects. So the schematic here, we're looking straight down the spillway gates and are just kind of in the upper part there. That light green, or pardon me, light blue color is the new low-level outlet channel. It's 413 meters long from the reservoir and connecting into the spillway channel. The blue rectangles are control buildings, the gate hoist system, backup power supply. New green access road and so forth, and there will be a bridge across it to maintain access to the public once this project's finished. And then once that's in place, then we'll come in and remove the existing spillway gates and put in a concrete structure there, where if reservoir levels get quite high, then we can have water-free spill down into the spillway channel. This is a broader site view, and the yellow area is the main work zone, but we have orange areas showing where the laydown areas are. There will be about 100,000 cubic meters of overburden material that will be moving around on the site, and about 100,000 cubic meters of rock. And that material will largely stay either on the site, within the reservoir bottom, or potentially some of it trucked off site. So we'll work our way through that. But it's about 200,000 cubic meters of material, and that compares to about 750,000 cubic meters of material for the for the John Hart Dam. So just in terms of context. And then here's some recent photos of the work here. So as we're preparing on the right side there to build that deep, low-level outlet channel that will connect into the existing spillway channel. Yeah, so with that, appreciate your time and happy to take any questions.
Directors, any questions? Director Davis.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. And thanks for your presentation. My one question is, I realize that if we have a major earthquake, that's obviously a flag that people should evacuate the lower town. But do we have anything else? Like I hear alertable, but alertable isn't always reliable. Are you going to have like large sirens, like the old school air raid sirens, so that people have another level of warning?
It's a good question. Basically, you're right. I mean, we looked at different types of warning systems, but by and large, they don't work. Power is lost immediately. They break down, they collapse, and all those kind of things. So the warning that we've communicated, and it's great that Sean Koopman's in here today, we've worked closely together over the years, that the message is essentially if it knocks you down, go to high ground. We've done some modeling where we can find that water may arrive within about an hour downstream in the Campbell River area. And so basically drop, cover, and hold after a major earthquake, and then you have about an hour to evacuate, move out of that area. So that's the methodology, that's the warning. If it knocks you down, go to high ground. Yeah.
How do you get that messaging out?
Well, I mean, we've done the Great Shakeout, the city of Campbell River and the regional district. We've had news releases. We've had role-playing. Things like this discussion right now helps provide that message out to the water community. We do have signs along the watershed as well. So, but yeah, the more we can try to convey this, but of course, that's an interim risk until we have these 3 dams seismically upgraded here by around the end of 2029.
Okay, so there's no plans to have sirens to alert people?
There's not, but having said that, there are sirens at our facilities when we're releasing water for flood risk management, or there's some kind of an event where we're releasing water. Usually it's for storm events and moving water downstream. We do have sirens in place, and that's for people to move out of the river channel, but they're not in place to because they're targeted to certain areas of the river. They're not a broader message to the wider area. The message is, if it knocks you down, go to high ground. That's the message.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else? Director Mawhinney.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the presentation. I thought it was very interesting. I appreciate Director Davis's line of questioning, because I think as well as the folks that live in Campbell River all the time that may have heard the if it knocks you down, go to high ground message, there's a lot of folks from outside of Campbell River that could be here, shopping for life essentials and so on. But my question is really about the fill, because I noticed that it seemed like there was a lot of it. And was it coming from digging the spillway, or was it coming from somewhere else? I was wondering if you knew how many dump truck loads that was of earth that you were using.
Which particular project you're talking about?
Was it the John Hart one?
Yeah, so the John Hart Dam is, as I say, it's about 750,000 cubic meters of material that we're moving, by and large, within this site. The good news is there's a gravel pit close by. So it's going in and out of that area, or we're keeping it in the site. So for example, we removed around 65,000 or maybe even 90,000 cubic meters of material within the reservoir area. We removed that loose material so we can then place the upstream berm. And that loose material was used to fill in the old penstock corridor, which was excavated for the penstocks many years ago. So it's a combination of within the area, but the larger rock that's created for the berm is in the nearby a site, which is great. So it's not being trucked all over the place. As far as Strathcona Dam, that is less rock, and the overburden and the rock is right there. So basically, we're excavating it. We don't need to bring any material in. It'll be kind of contained in that area. So not too bad. And of course, Lador, there's no rock material at all being used.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Director Sinnott.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Mr. Watson, for the presentation. It's been a while since I've had sort of a comprehensive view of how much investment BC Hydro has done in this community, because there was the generating station, there's been all these projects for seismically upgrading. I had the pleasure of asking Minister Dix and sort of threw out $2 billion potentially, but maybe you can give me the actual number generally, and then we know there's economic spin-off generally to the economy, and we thank you very much, BC Hydro, for these investments.
Thank you. Yeah. The John Hart Generating Station Replacement Project, that ran from around 2014, 2019. That was $1 billion. It actually came in 10% under budget. The 3 dam safety upgrade projects combined are about $1.88 billion. And of that, the largest project is John Hart at $923 million. Then Strathcona, and then Lador. So yeah, they're very significant capital projects for BC Hydro to keep the system safe and reliable.
And just as a follow-up, I think I did a look-see years ago, before things got really inflated, and it was like the equivalent of 3 nuclear reactors just doing the generating station. It was just like a lot of funds being put in. And yeah, again, we're very thankful for the economic spin-off that's really helped.
Okay. Anyone else? Director Lawton.
Thank you for your presentation. It's very informative. Does BC Hydro have any other projects that they're bringing on in the island area to increase their capacity?
You mean across Vancouver Island? Yeah, so we have big capital projects across the island. There's actually 2 cable replacement projects down in Greater Victoria, replacing cables built in the 70s and 80s, so pretty significant. Victoria to Esquimalt and Victoria to Saanich lines, so those are combined in the hundreds of millions of dollars. We have their projects, whether it's substation upgrades, transmission line upgrades, so there's a lot of activity will be happening, not just this year, but going forward here in the next 10 years. So it's pretty significant and something that's just important to do.
Just a follow-up question. What about generating capacity so that we have more hydro for developing industry on the island?
Well, the general rule of thumb is there's 2 main undersea cables that supply the island, and that supplies about 2/3 of the demand here. The other third is met on island generation. As you, I'm sure, know, the government and Hydro have issued call for powers. There's a wind farm. There's one close by here to Campbell River, another one in another part of the island, and there's more calls to come. So yeah, we'll see what that looks like, and hopefully they can be successful in adding to the capacity, not just for Vancouver Island, but across BC.
Okay. Go ahead, Director Rice.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Watson. One question that I had, and I'm not sure if I heard correctly, you mentioned that you were going to be upgrading the power at Strathcona Dam. Is that correct?
No, this project right here is just looking at the low-level outlet channel, 2 new spillway gates within that channel, and then removing the existing old spillway gates, putting a concrete structure there. But we're not working on the powerhouse as part of this project.
Okay. Is there any plans in the future for that?
There's no plans at this time. There's nothing in our capital plan, but it's something that we're looking at.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Motion to receive? Thank you. Second?
Second.
Did you second? I apologize. Director Von Ash, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Men's treatment and second stage treatment. Chris, the floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. Excuse me. My name is Chris Camilleri, and my purpose today in this short talk is not to present you with statistics, but to humanize the issue of needing more bed-based and second-stage housing in Campbell River. I worked at Campbell River Family Services, a community-based charitable nonprofit, for 25 years. As a child and family counselor, I supported children and youth, many who were victims of domestic violence. The population I served was primarily lower-income families. Many of my young clients were in the foster care system because they had parents who had struggled with drug or alcohol misuse, had mental health challenges, or their home environment was unsafe for their children because of violence. As these children aged through the social services system, they had access to counseling and other supports, as did their families. Typically, these services ended once they aged out at 18. With no place to call home, few social skills, a possible mental health diagnosis, and having dropped out of school because of historical challenges in fitting into the school system, these kids, now young adults, were particularly vulnerable. As human beings, one of our most pressing needs is for connection. In the case with sadly too many of my former clients, now adults and unhoused, they find connection with other unhoused in the community where they have a sense of belonging, even if that might mean taking part in risk-taking behaviors such as drug and alcohol misuse. They might reconnect with a family member, a parent, sibling, or cousin who is unhoused, and this sense of being with real family, as opposed to their time growing up in foster care, is extremely attractive to them, despite the dysfunctional lifestyle of that family member. Take Jeremy, for example. That isn't his real name, of course, but Jeremy was referred to me when he was a sweet, precocious 5-year-old in the foster care system. He was apprehended by the Ministry of Child and Family Development because of violence and open drug use in his home. As a result of the trauma he experienced in his early childhood, Jeremy struggled at school and he needed mental health support. He was often suspended, and as a result of his attendance his attendance at school was spotty. Once he aged out of the system at 18, Jeremy had no healthy family members to reconnect with, and as a result, he joined his father, who lived on the street and had been struggling with mental health and addiction issues for several years. Finding connection and belonging with his estranged father and his father's social circle, Jeremy started dabbling in drugs. Today, now an adult, Jeremy is unhoused and an addict. He currently lives in one of the low-barrier, so-called first-stage housing in Campbell River. Unfortunately, Jeremy has been unable to stay clean because once he leaves short-term, typically 30-day first-stage housing, he reconnects with his homeless peer group, starts using again, and then re-enters first-stage housing only to reconnect with his unhealthy peer group once he's out. And the cycle continues. The opportunity to participate in a longer-term second-stage housing would be a great benefit to adults like Jeremy who seek to recover and have access to programs that will give them an opportunity to break the cycle of drug misuse and to learn new skills, access specialized counseling, and be provided with ongoing appropriate services, similar to what would have been made to Jeremy while he was still a child and youth and had access to services. Unfortunately, There are only a limited number of second-stage housing beds available. So while the need is great, the resources are few. The prospect of creating more second-stage housing would be welcomed, narrowing a very obvious service gap. Second-stage housing offers a more stable living environment, allowing residents to stay for longer periods of time, 6 to 18 months, while they work more comprehensively towards independence and recovery. I have a niece who works in a low-barrier first-stage housing. She has a co-worker who was in active addiction and ended up going through Second Chance Recovery Center in Campbell River, which he says was crucial to his recovery. He now lives in market rental housing, helping others who are in active addiction. He tells my niece that finding second-stage housing was both the most difficult and crucial step to his recovery. Without it, he wouldn't be where he is today, and he is open with sharing his story so that it might help create positive change in others. My niece tells me that in her few short years as a frontline worker, she has seen 7+ people willing to go to treatment and then have no second-stage housing available. They have no other option but to return to low-barrier housing where folks are still active in addiction. They quickly relapse and are now at a higher risk of overdosing due to intolerance reduction, which typically occurs after treatment. There have been at least 2 deaths in the community in the last 12 months that my niece is aware of, caused by folks leaving treatment, being discharged into homelessness, and ultimately dying of an overdose. As a frontline worker, my niece's observation is that the most effective way to address the overdose epidemic is to make treatment and second-stage housing more accessible and plentiful. She points out that in supportive housing, she sees how cyclical substance abuse can be where parents stay in housing and then a few years later, their children end up in the same situation, in active addiction, where they have nowhere to live and are desperate for help and resources. This is essentially Jeremy's story. Addiction is often trauma-related. People end up using substances to numb feelings. This is evidence-based and is something that my niece sees daily in her work. She says, and I quote, "Second-stage housing has provided my friends with an opportunity to work alongside their trauma and to live in a way that doesn't devolve into substance abuse. Homelessness is a word that should be said with compassion. There's a saying, make no judgment where you have no compassion." I want to tell you that the photo of this little boy, it was a photo of a little boy, is not a picture of anyone I worked with. He is my grandson. He did not end up on the street. He has never self-medicated trauma or has struggled with substance addiction. But, like any of our children or grandchildren, he could have. One wrong choice for any of our loved ones could see them dead or struggling or homeless. Let us be sure to provide all that is needed to support those who desperately need it, without judgment, but with compassion. I spoke earlier about our human need for connection. As human beings, there is something else that we all need, and that's hope. Hope keeps our spirit alive, even in the most challenging situations where life might be reduced to merely existing. Hope is being able to see that there is light despite the darkness. The absolute gesture of humanity is giving another human being, hope by word, or more importantly, by action. What is being proposed here today is the ultimate in taking action to give others hope. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Any questions? Director Kerr.
Thank you, Chair. And thanks, Chris, for your presentation. It's hard news, sad. But I think my question would be, how come we're in this situation in this community? I mean, you're familiar with the community, you worked in it for a long time. Why are we in a situation where we don't have the resources for men in this community?
That's a $1 million question. Yeah, I guess my experience, historically, speaking, is that there's been services that have been plentiful for women and children, which I think is important. And my job is who work with women and children and men in some cases through a domestic violence program as a counselor. But there seemed to be, when the request would come out to maybe specifically provide services for men, there often would be pushback from kind of higher levels. I think at the sort of frontline worker level, people like me and my niece who see this happening every day, see what's going on in the community, we could see that there's been a gap to provide maybe specific services for men who are unhoused. And yeah, it's just been a historical issue. And as I say, amongst my peers, it's been something that we often would kind of shake our heads and wonder why. And often we would never get that answer, would end up in the bureaucratic ether, and it would be often quite frustrating. So we would take it upon ourselves often to provide those services on a voluntary basis, just to try to, look after the needs of that specific population.
Anyone else? Thank you very much for your presentation today.
You're welcome.
Motion to receive? Thank you. Second? Thank you. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Rice. We'll go to the director's report. Director Kerr.
Thank you, Chair. And if I could have the motion put up. So I've been advocating for recovery and second stage housing services in this community for over 14 years now. I don't know how many know that, but and my Blue Hat Memorial installation at the Tai Spit this year was basically to highlight the incredible toll that addiction has taken on our communities. Chris didn't give any statistics, but I'll throw some out. Canada, over the last 10 years, we've had over 54,000 deaths. In BC, 16,500. And in Campbell River alone, we've had over 350 deaths. 75 to 80% of these deaths have been to males, men and boys. We've got a men's health crisis in this country. City of Campbell River has been advocating, council has been down talking to ministers, staff, and requesting enhanced services for years. Council has supplied property for a recovery center and a second stage housing project 5, 6 or more years ago. That's the property up on Willis Road. But addiction is a regional issue. The services are in Campbell River, but this is the hub for the whole North Island region. We need regional representation and advocacy to move the dial on this issue. It's, there's been lots of talk, lots of promises, but basically in terms of recovery and second stage housing for men, we're at the same point now as we were 14 years ago when I got started. We need to present a business case for recovery housing developments that are abstinence-based. The present government funding models don't allow for this. Supportive housing models all allow low barrier alcohol and drug usage, which doesn't make sense for somebody coming out of a recovery situation. So having a report and data that supports this will help the community seek non-governmental funding, private donations, and help the recovery community to tailor a Maiden Campbell River and North Island solution for this issue. and it'll help us address the huge gaps in our roads to recovery. But time is important. And as we know, as years pass by, more and more people are dying unnecessarily. I know from the time in the spring that I bought my flags to put out on the lawn, there was 51,000 in the spring, and we're up to 54. And that's not even to date because it always lags. So I've got a motion that I'm going to make, that staff prepare a report on the need for expanded bed-based recovery services and second-stage housing for adult men.
Second.
Discussion. Director Wally.
Through Chair, a question for.
Microphone, please.
How many?
Microphone, please.
How many adult men would you estimate would be eligible for that right now in Canberra?
Far more than the facilities on the North Island. We've got one right now, recovery unit in town. It's got 10 beds, 4 are crisis beds, and the other 6 are regular beds, and that's for people coming in and spending a month. So, and once they leave at the end of that point, there's no place for them to go except back out on the street or back into the situation that they came from. There's a Saqualuton facility has been in the works for a while. I think they're doing an intake now, slowly building up. It's had its problems getting rolling, but it's more set up for Indigenous addictive issues. But once again, it doesn't have a second stage housing program for those people to feed into. So there's nothing on the North Island for it, for men.
Thank you. Director Von Esch.
Thank you, Chair, and just want to thank Director Kerr for bringing this issue up. I think it is something that is overlooked a lot of the time, and when you look at the stats, it's obviously needs some proper addressing from government. As this report, I certainly support this, and I hope the board will as well. And I hope the report will also include, some of the stats I know around housing and providing supports for people is that it's actually cheaper to house someone and provide the wraparound supports for them than the cost on the medical system, the police system, the justice system. So this is something that not only makes moral sense, but it makes economic sense as well. Thank you.
Anyone else? Director Sinnott.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And Director Kerr, what's the anecdotal or potentially evidence-based requests for people that want to have this type of non-low barrier housing? They want the actual secure housing. Because I think we've heard in the community, even from our various projects at Homewood, that there's still a population that wants to be segregated.
Yes, there is. It'd be anecdotal because I don't have the figures in front of me, but to this point, there are no government programs or funding programs for the type of housing we're talking about.
Director Rice.
Thank you, Chair. Try to keep my comments here, but I think the challenge with drug addiction is that we sit at a table and we talk about it, but until some of us actually experience it, it throws a whole new light onto it. I know that with one of my boys, we struggled with exactly this. And it's not, I think probably what I'm trying to say is drug addiction shows no prejudice. It affects good families, bad families, and everything in between. And I think that when we have an opportunity to move the needle on one thing, we should jump on that. Thank you.
Great. Great. Director Mawhinney.
Thanks, Chair. I guess one of my questions about this motion is that it's talking about the need for expanded bed-based care and second stage housing for men. And while I understand that Director Kerr's perspective may be that there are more men which require the support, I think it would be more appropriate for the report to look at the need for expanded bed-based care and recovery services and second stage housing overall. I think that if the motion was amended to remove the adult men section, the report would identify whether, in fact, there was a need specifically to find supports for men or not. But as it is, I think that that's a fairly narrow scope, and I'm actually not in support of it as it is. The other thing I think that is really important, and I'm not sure if this should happen before we look at this report or not, but I'm curious, this is a report looking at the need, but I think as a board would probably also really benefit from understanding what is in the works or what is being planned by Island Health. You know, there are other provincial agencies that are working on this priority as well, and I think it's, I don't understand Island Health. I know they have so many departments that I think it'd be really important to talk to them and make sure that we understand what they're working on and have that information included in the report as well. Thanks.
Any other discussion? Director Chapman?
Thank you, Chair. Interesting comments being made. Studies have proved that I don't know how you'd call it, the prejudicial views of society in general have prevail in a lot of the policies pursued by government. And the recovery services by Vancouver Island Health has 10 beds in Kemba River, 5 for men, 5 for women, and the stats showed 78% of the services needed were for men. And this has been, I think, systemic throughout society for a long time, where women and children get the sympathy and men are told to suck it up, pull yourself by the bootstraps, and so fix yourself. And I think we need to be focusing more now on services to men to get their issues resolved, get them cleaned up, get them on the straight and narrow so that they can start providing for their families, future and current, so that society in the overall will benefit. But to say because it says adult housing for men shouldn't deter support for this resolution, because it's been shown and proved that that's where the services are needed. Down in the United States, I read a report 3 months ago, where services for men and women. And in the United States, there were 238 organizations providing support for women, and there were 2 providing support for men, even though the statistics were showing it was the majority of men, the majority of the people needing help were men, not women. So I think society has systemically been working against men, and I think that tide needs to change. Thank you.
Okay, call the question. Oh, Director Kerr? Call the question.
I have a follow-up, Chair, and I thank you for that. But, I think a lot of the evidence that is being stated here is not evidence that I'm familiar with, and it's not evidence that has been presented to the board. It's anecdotal or something that's being quoted from the United States, and I really don't think that is appropriate for us to be basing a decision on. So, yeah, I think it would be more
Director
appropriate
Kerr?
to have more information about that.
Director Kerr?
Thank you, Chair. And I agree. And I think that's exactly what this report is going to do, is flesh out a lot of the information that you're talking about and a lot of the questions. But it's a first step towards heading down that road. You know, and I agree. We really don't know what the provincial agencies are doing. But to this point, they haven't been doing anything for a long time. And to wait any longer, I think is, you know, it's not a good strategy. I think this is a point that we start moving ahead on it. But I think the report that we're asking for is going to flesh out a lot of those questions.
Okay, it was Director Lanyon.
Sure. I think there's been a trend in academic circles in Canada and the U.S. For the last 15 years or so towards critical theory, assigning a hierarchical set of values based on a victimizer mindset. And I do believe that men have just sort of shifted through the sand to the very bottom of that hierarchy, and it's been much to the detriment of society. You see higher levels of depression and drug addiction in men. So, like, there's no question. Like, we know for a fact 75 to 80% of these overdoses are men. I work downtown, you know, I see men constantly, just totally unserviced. We heard from Chris. He said it's strange that there isn't this gap exists in our system. I just explained why. And I think I understand why Quadra has a problem with it.
Okay, Director Sinnott, then we'll call the question.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And I do agree, when you first think of it and you say, oh, it's just for men, you always go, well, why? But if it's someone come in and done something and said, I want to pursue it for women and children, I wouldn't blink, because I have an understanding of the historical disadvantages of certain groups or Indigenous people. We just know that. It's really hard for us to grasp that this is one place where men are disadvantaged. And so I don't have a problem with that, because I'm trying to reconcile that level of, ooh, this doesn't feel right, but that's the point. Or, oh, if it doesn't feel right is why the gap exists. So I'm prepared with the motion as it is, and I think I feel confident that staff will put it into some context as well, because it's just really information to help us lobby to get to where we need to go. So I'm fine with that.
Okay, so all in favor? Opposed? One opposed, the motion's carried. Adoption of minutes. Thank you. Second? Director Chapman, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried. Business arising? None. Public consideration?
Chair, if I...
I'm sorry? Oh, that's correct. Sorry, go ahead, Director Bonash.
Thank you, Chair. I did want to bring up some business arising from the minutes, specifically the Cortes Island Food Security Hub gas tax funding. I know in our last board meeting, one of the legitimate concerns around the table was that providing funding to the Cortes Food Bank could have an impact on our strategic priority fund application, specifically for the Kayakut Community Hall and for the Rod Brindamore Arena. And, you know, I think those were legitimate concerns, and that they, you know, some folks voted specifically because that was a concern, which I can definitely understand. I had the opportunity to connect with UBCM and had a conversation with them, and I asked the question whether this project would impact our SPF funds, and you know, through that phone conversation, they said they would not. So I also asked for a written email to confirm that as well, and they've written me and said that you know, supporting this project would not have an impact on our strategic priority fund applications. And I wanted to bring this new information to the board as an opportunity for a reconsideration on that project, and just wanted to bring that information and hope that there's somebody here that would be willing to reconsider their vote.
Okay, Director Rice? No, I was going to second. Okay. Go ahead.
We reconsider the motion, Mr. Chair?
And just to be clear, I think in order to make a reconsideration vote, it has to be somebody who voted against it in the first place. So Gerald, I think you voted in favor, so it would have to be somebody who is on the other side.
Yeah. Director Rice? I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
You'll second it. Thank you. Discussion? Director Lott?
Thank you, Director Vonich. That's enlightening. I know that when I made my vote, when it first came to the table, I based my vote on the information that was presented at that time. And at that time, there was an intimation that this initiative would put at risk our important grant applications, and that's why I didn't support the motion at that time. And I just like to hear a response from our staff now that this new information has come to light. Has their position on this issue changed at all, and do they now support this motion? Through the chair.
Well, if I may, Mr. Chair, so Director Vonich and I had a lengthy conversation about this, and I think to answer your question, both positions can be true. So my comments to the board were based on conversations that staff had with staff, phone conversations, discussions, and I think what Director Vonich's conversation has with the staff is about direct policy, and he's right. They don't have a clear policy that says by doing X, Y happens, and so he's correct in that. And as I communicated to him, staff will continue to stand by the fact that the issue was brought up to us, and the only reason I brought it to the board was because it was brought up to us. So, who knows definitively the results? We probably never will, whether we get or we don't get the board, but I think it's fair to say both statements are true. I don't know if that helps or not, but.
Clearly, it doesn't help because we need to have good information coming into the board in order for us to have good decisions coming out. And if this is going to jeopardize any future grant application or current grant application, I continue and would not support it. But if it's not going to, then I would support it. So without that clarity, it makes it very difficult to make an informed decision. I know that's how I feel. I'm not quite sure how the rest of the board members feel, but it seems like we're getting two different perspectives here, and I'm not quite sure which one is valid and which one isn't.
Mr. Yates?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So just to explain for the benefit of the board directors what is currently before the board, there's been a motion that the decision formally made by the board be reconsidered. If that motion is passed, then the original motion, which is to incorporate money from the Community Works Fund for Cortez Food Hub, would then be put for another vote. So there's really two votes involved here. The first vote is whether or not to reconsider the motion that was defeated.
Okay, so on reconsideration, we had a first and second. All in favor? Opposed? 2 opposed. The motion is carried.
I'd like to move that the 2025-29 financial plan be amended to incorporate $28,000 from the Electoral Area B Community Works Fund to fund the Cortez Island Food Security Hub.
Do I have a
Second.
second? Director Davis, thank you. Discussion? Director Sinnott?
I'm going to make a motion to defer to the next meeting. I would like staff to go back and verify both sides and see if we can get a response back from UBCM in writing.
I already have that.
Sure. I didn't have the benefit of being at the meeting where this was originally considered. So I heard vaguely about it, but I don't know the details. So either I need more discussion or I just need it to be on the next agenda so I have a chance to catch up.
I can understand. Oh, sorry, Taryn.
Yeah. Can I just second deferral?
Who seconded the deferral motion? Director Smythe? Okay, thank you. Further discussion, Director Sinnott?
Is there debate on deferral or is it just a vote?
Just a vote.
There's no discussion?
Point of
Nope.
order, Mr. Chair, all motions are debatable.
Didn't we just go through that? Go ahead.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I can only refer to your procedure bylaw, which says that deferral motions are not debatable. I don't know what else to say.
Mr. Chair, if I might,
Microphone, please.
That appropriateness of any motion is debatable. Am I wrong?
Deferral motions apparently are not debatable according to our procedural bylaw.
Can I make a comment?
Go ahead.
No, I certainly understand the request. I just forwarded you the email with the written confirmation from UPCM saying that they said that this will not impact our SPF applications.
I think it's only fair to put the two contrary versions to UBCM and have them asked to give us clarity. That's the point. When you get two different versions, now we need clarity from them with those two versions in their hands.
Okay, so on the 2025-29 financial plan be amended.
I think you're voting on the deferral motion. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I apologize. On the deferral motion, all in favor? Opposed? Thank you. The motion is carried. Director Chapman?
To Director Sinnott, is the next part now to get a staff report on this?
Yeah, I think that was the direction I understood.
Do you want a motion?
Do we need a motion to ask you to get clarity for our
No,
further
I think I
consideration?
understand it, yeah.
Okay. So we wait on this motion here, correct? It's been deferred. There we go. Okay. Public considerations, none. Chair's report, none. Committee Chair's report, Director Wally.
Electoral Area Service Committee, I move the draft minutes of the meeting of the Electoral Area Service Committee held on Wednesday, November 5th, 2025 be received.
Second.
Director Rice, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Chapman, number 2.
That the draft minutes of the meeting of the community of the whole meeting held on Thursday, November 6th be received.
Second. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Mawhinney, number 3.
Electoral Area C Advisory Planning Commission move that the draft minutes of the meeting of the Electoral Area C Advisory Planning Commission held on Thursday, November 6, 2025 be received.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried. Director Kerr, number 4. Oh,
I'll move that the Community Health and Wellness Committee, the draft minutes of the meeting of the Community Health and Wellness Committee held on Wednesday, November 12th be received.
second. Thank you. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Mawhinney.
Thank you, Chair. Item number 1, registration of Section 219 covenant on Reed Island properties. I'll move that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Second.
Director Davis, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried. We still have
And I will
quorum.
move that the Section 219 covenant attached to the November 19th, 2025 report from the Chief Administrative Officer be approved, and that the Chair and Corporate Officer be authorized to execute the covenant on behalf of the Regional District.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Director Von Asch, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Rice, number 2.
Electoral Area D Stormwater Management, I'd like to move that the report from the Chief Administration Officer be received.
Director Lott, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
I'd like to move item B, that the supplementary report from the Chief Administration Officer be received.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
I'd like to move item C, that the contract for the Electoral Area D Stormwater System Design Catchment C and Oyster River Rest Area be awarded to ISL Engineering and Land Services Limited in the amount of $136,674, excluding GST, for the core project and option scope 1, and that the project be funded entirely using Electoral Area D gas tax funds.
Director Mulwini, second. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Rice.
Electoral Area D Transit Shelters, I'd like to move that the report from the Chief Administration Officer be received.
Director Wally, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
I'd like to move item B, that the Regional District proceed with construction in 2026 of transit shelters at Shelter Bay Resort and Ingalls Road using existing funds in the Electoral Area D Transit Service.
So that was a scheduled emergency broadcast for 1:55 p.m. Sorry, go ahead again. You got it?
I got it.
Okay.
Second.
Second, Director Wally, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Hey. Director Mulwini.
We're number 4, grant opportunity, emergency support services. Move that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Mr. Koopman will speak to this, Mr. Chair.
Shucks, I was trying to time it so that it would go off when I started. Anyway, this is to the purpose of this report, Mr. Chair, is to ask the board for a resolution of support to apply for $14,000 to support our emergency, our psychological first aid response team who assists evacuees with emotional support.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Koopman? Director Mulwini?
Thanks, Chair. I was just curious if this was strictly for emergency support services in the electoral areas. I know often we're working in partnership with other municipalities, but I didn't notice that in the report.
Through the chair to Director Mulwini, our emergency services program is regional. Everything that we do, emergency support services, emergency radio communications, pet care, emotional support, is all handled at a regional nature, working with different community teams.
Okay, great. Thank you. Oh, more emergencies. Thank you.
Now alertable.
That was a real emergency.
Oh, I turned it off. Any other questions for Mr. Koopman? Director Sinnott?
I'm just sort of trying to think if there was like a plane incident or something that was a plane coming into like the regional airport. Is this the kind of thing that would help with that? Like people who have, I know there's certain federal protocols around that type of thing, but would this all be assistant into that sort of area?
Yeah, great question. Typically, this team works with people that have been displaced from their permanent residences due to an emergency or disaster, but something temporarily like that with somebody who's been affected is in need of an emotional support. God forbid a cruise ship start to sink, those people need to come ashore. Absolutely.
Any further questions for Mr. Koopman? No? Thank you, sir.
I'll move B, that an application to the November 2025 Emergency Support Services Grant Program be submitted for enhancing the provision of emotional support during an emergency, and that the regional district commit to overall management of the grant if the application is successful.
Director Lott?
Ask a question. Did we call the question on receipt? We need to do that.
No? Call the question on receipt.
You won't use your mic today.
All, I know, I was expecting all in favor, opposed. Okay, we're back to B.
Which I will make again. That is very rude that my phone keeps making noises, sorry. It's critical. I have the volume off. It's critical. Would you like me to move the motion again? Would you like me to read the whole thing again?
No, I don't think
Okay.
that's necessary. Pardon me?
We got it.
You got it, yeah. Director Wally, second. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Von Esch.
There's a Ballast Forest Service Road single maintenance model. I move that the report from the CAO be received.
Director Mawini, discussion?
Just quickly, it's unfortunate Director Colburn isn't here. This came as a request from the Village of Sabalis to Mr. Koopman, so don't have much background unless Mr. Koopman does.
Mr. Koopman, do you have any background on the Zabelis Road Service?
Okay, I'm anticipating, we got a motion on the floor yet? Like, is just a
Just to
receipt?
receive. Just
to
Okay.
receive.
I may have a conflict. Maybe just do receipt and then we can discuss it. I don't know. That might be the easier one that
Okay.
I can leave.
On receipt, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried.
Okay, I'll declare a conflict for business reasons.
Okay, Mr. Koopman, can you give us any more background?
Through the chair, I'm assuming we don't have Director Colborn on the line.
We don't.
Yeah, I mean, my knowledge on this is really just limited to the letter and my experience driving that road, and that it can be in various conditions at various point in times. But it is a very unique situation in that there's different contractors that look over different parts of the road. I know that this has been a long-standing important issue to Zabalis, at least in my nearly 10 years here, and they're just continually trying to advocate for a single maintenance contractor model for the whole entire road. And they're asking us for a letter of support on that.
Okay, thank you. Director Wally?
Just a question there for Mr. Koopman. Single maintenance model, so that's a single contractor, but they want to maintain it still as a Forest Service road.
Through the chair, correct.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure they will take paving if it's on the table, but baby steps.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking as long as it's a Forest Service road, I'm sure the Forest Service will have jurisdiction over who they hire to contractor, right?
Director Von Esch, then Director Swain.
I was going to make the motion if discussion is finished.
No, Director Swain?
Yeah, I just have a question on the structure of it. So my understanding, and you know, we have crews that drive that road all the time, so I understand that the portage. I'm sympathetic to this. So different industries are responsible for different sections of the road, correct? Is there sections of the road that no industry is responsible for?
That's a great question. I don't believe so.
Okay, the only I'm worried about the unintended consequences on this, because you look at the reason why some of the industries are not keeping that road up to standards is because of budget, right? Essentially, they're all running on a tight budget like everybody else right now. If we go into single contractor and then they can't control their budgets, so all of a sudden they're getting a bill from the single contractor, we might have projects actually drop off in the area. And it'll be self-perpetuating from there, because as soon as one of the industries kind of drops off, well, now the cost of that road goes up for all the other players that are in there. It won't take much if the cost gets out of control that we have nobody, not only nobody in charge of the road, because all the industries have basically shut down their projects in the area, but then nobody's maintaining the road.
I think, Mr. Chair, those are good questions that we don't have answers for because unfortunately Director Colburn isn't here who would speak to it. So if the board wishes, they can defer the issue. Didn't anticipate that Director Colburn or her alternate wouldn't be here.
Do we have a deferral motion? Thank you. Second, Director Von Esch. Director Kerr, sorry, discussion? Director Mawini?
I thought that the letter specified that they were looking for a reply by like yesterday or November 17th. I'm
Tomorrow.
just seeing it here. November 17th, it states in here, but that they would extend it to November 19th so that we could provide the letter for their application. So I understand that deferral motions are not debatable, but I will not be supporting that motion because I think that Zabalis really needs our support. And I think that the questions that have been raised will be something that would be considered at the provincial level.
Mr. Chair, if I may, it's unlikely that the staff understood that the director from Zabalis wouldn't be here for that meeting, so, for this meeting, sorry.
Okay, so we're on a deferral motion. All in favor of deferral? Against? We got 5 against.
6-4.
6-4. Pardon me? More in favor? The motion is passed. B. Was deferred. Director Von Esch, number 6.
Grant opportunity, computer-aided dispatch systems. I move that the report from the CAO officer be received.
Second.
And Mr. Chair, Sean can speak this as well.
Through the chair, the purpose of this report is to request the board's blessing to go over just after $10,000 in grant funding to support the Quadra and Cortez Island Fire Departments to connect to the North Island 911 computer automated dispatch system. This would provide a CAD system in one of the Quadra Island Fire Department trucks and a mobile connectivity system in one of the Cortez Island Fire Department trucks so that they can connect when they're outside of cell phone reception range.
Further discussion? Any questions for Mr. Koopman? No? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried.
I'll move that an application to the 2026 Next Generation 911 Grant Program be approved for enhancing computer automated dispatch capacity for the Quadra Island and Cortez Island Fire Departments, and that the Regional District commit to overall management of the grant if the application is successful.
Second. Director Lott, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Smythe, you want to take number 7, please?
I move that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Mr. Chair, this is the report Mr. Yates looks forward to all year long, and I would ask that all criticism be directed towards him. He is the author of this schedule.
Okay, on receipt. Go ahead.
Thank you. My question apparently to Mr. Yates through the chair. And I'm not sure if the item says calendar board and committee meetings, but I'm not sure if we're just, the attached calendar had the regional board in red, so I'm not sure if we're discussing all of them or not.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, it's up to each committee and the commission to adopt their own schedules, but those are provided for context of the board. So today, the board is being asked to approve the schedule for board meetings only.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, so on receipt, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B. Director Smythe.
That the supplemental report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Second. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. C.
And that the board's calendar of the meetings for 2026 be approved based on the schedule attached to the November 18th, 2025 supplementary report from the Chief Administrative Officer.
Second. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried. Okay. Y'all want to take a bit of a recess? We'll take a 10-minute recess. Okay, so we'll meet back, actually 12 minutes, we'll meet back at 20 after.
You're going to do security?
Yeah, we're going to do a weather update. An environmental assessment, exactly. Well, I just, it just seems like, because that was exactly
If it looks like it occupies that. That's why sometimes it's like, okay, whatever, who's gonna be the constituents, because you know it's right. So it's like.
Well, I was gonna call it so that I would call it a question, that is, of course, it's not a discussion.
No, no, she didn't, you're right, she didn't go whatever.
The,
But it passes.
when, you know, when they started talking about it, I mean, I spoke up at that committee, and, you know, like Stephanie was, well, I'm not going to
Yeah, I was surprised that they didn't support that, but who cares, we found a way through.
The funny thing is that, and I know because I'm speaking for those people, I don't remember. Treatments for them is different than the treatments for them. So give it the year. The 2 years. Period.
And you know what, it's gonna be a report that we're gonna try and use as a tool for, because we're not gonna mail it to the provinces and actions. And, you know, to get community funding, stuff like that, so it's just a tool.
Right. But what I was trying to say too, that if you don't pick an item and stand on it, then you go nowhere. You're on a treadmill.
You know the way the Forest Service roads work? They plow it once in the spring and once in the fall. If you haul on it, it's up to you to maintain it going. So it is a single contractor for the Forest Service. So do it twice a year.
Yeah, yeah.
They're not gonna spend any more than they budget.
Trevor had Bay Road for 4 years going into taxes.
Yeah, the road out to Brewster Lake, same thing. Troy.
Hey, Mike, are you gonna, yours is next.
Dave, I see on December the 10th, you got the electoral areas at 10:30, is that a mistake? It's supposed to be 10?
Can change what we always do you first. Oh, we juggled it just because of the day because we got electoral areas, then we're doing the.
But why didn't you start electoral areas at 10 like it's always at 10?
Edith had a reason, I don't know why. Ask her. Edith, why did you have on the 10th, the electoral area start at 10:30 instead of 10?
December 10th, why did we do that? We were trying to move it as close to where we could run it into lunch so that the meetings would go electoral areas.
Yeah, wouldn't want too big a gap.
Well, there wouldn't be gaps, yeah, that's right.
But it would give us an hour and a half instead of an hour. If we started at 10, we always start at 10.
However, an hour and a half would still bring it to noon, was our thinking, and then noon to 12:30 for
Because following this, I think there's another meeting.
There is another meeting, and it is
Yeah, there is. I gotta look. There we go. Yeah, Strathcona Gardens. Is that? We got at 12:30.
starting at 12:30.
But I mean, if electoral area started at 10, so we would give them.
And if you want to make that change, you don't get a problem.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure nobody's confident.
Yeah, no, there's no conflict.
You know, we always used to get criticized if there's too much gap between one meeting, and if it goes too long, we get criticized, there's no way. So we try and go, okay, the agenda's gonna be this, that's gonna be,
But
and
you
then
know,
criticism, right?
but you know electoral area is never criticized.
You can't win.
Yeah, no.
I apologize, I make the times make sense when we're looking at everything.
Yeah.
And then they don't stick in my head because there's too much other stuff going in there every day.
But yeah, if you want to change the time, it's all good. And then if we finish too far ahead of lunch, criticize us for having that gap in time, okay?
Well, then
Say,
we'll just-
what am I supposed to do with all of my time?
I go first one.
We'll put Christmas music on.
There's this, no criticism, this, I can't remember, I saw it on the internet, this guy was saying, this woman, his wife was saying, do I look fat in these pants? Or do I look good in these pants? He said, do you want the truth, or do you want the husband answer? So she says, well, I want the truth. He says, I don't give a shit. She said, well, what's the husband answer? He says, you look lovely in them.
Exactly right. Dangerous question is when she says, do I look fat when we fat?
And in the will, one kid was responsible, who was elderly and one kid got double.
Heard about it.
Did the Village of Sabre get their internet back on? The residents will be, I don't know why they're supposed to be. The village residents will be with them.
Oh.
Why?
The girl still had her double share.
Everything is okay?
Yep. I escorted the chair off the property.
Of your vest is on. So you probably want to know that.
They'll expose.
Well, yeah, you always.
Try to present a good image.
I was joking with my wife today, saying, I should wear my suit into the meeting so Tom's not alone.
Yeah, I thought all the guys would wear a suit.
In the old days, in the old days, yeah.
Is Kermit Solo in Ottawa? No. What's he going there for?
He was appearing to the standing committee on fisheries. And the other one was, I think today is forestry. I can't remember what had on Thursday. I think it's probably back tomorrow. So I said, well, I said, well, can he? Can, I haven't talked to you. He says, well, he says, I was invited. He said no was not an option.
Right, but he went alone? Presented on his own? Yeah, all right.
So I guess he was, emailed or whatever, so.
Requested to.
Say no was not an option. Is that Jim or vodka?
Vodka.
I mean, I feel like that's.
Yeah.
Watching the news channel down in the States on the internet. It's covered here is upset. And rightfully so. You know, the November campaign, everything like, down in the States, the feminists have taken them away. The board is comprised majority of female, chairs correct. Spending on one of the men's health issues is prostate cancer has declined from 10% down to 8%, and some of the money is being used to advance women's issues. He's just, he's beside himself.
As it should be.
And the feminists are invading it.
One minute. We're on number 8, correct?
1 minute.
Okay, folks, it's time. We get everybody back to their chairs, please. We have quorum, we do. Okay, Director Senate, number 8.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'll make a motion that the report from the CAO be received regarding the December 2025 board meeting schedule.
Second.
Discussion.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Harmston has a presentation for us. Oh, sorry.
On the schedule?
We're on number 8.
Oh, so didn't we did the schedule, did we?
No.
And we just did one schedule.
Oh, my apologies. Sorry, ahead of you. He might have a presentation on the schedule. You don't know that. Like, who says I'm wrong on that? All right.
Mr. Chair, I can explain if you wish.
By all means, please.
Partway during the year, the board inserted the Electoral Area Services Committee meeting. That was like 6 months after the schedule had been adopted. So there is a need to have another look at it because as currently configured, it doesn't really make a lot of sense for the committee to have a half hour before the board starts. So we're suggesting it's appropriate to reconsider the timing for the events of that day.
Okay, further discussion? Director Mawhinney?
Thank you, Chair. I noticed that the report states that the Electoral Area Services Committee would be at 10:30, and it says in brackets, no change, but our EASC meetings are at 10 a.m., and the one that we have it scheduled for December so far in my calendar is for 10, so I would just offer that amendment to when we receive or approve the report.
Okay, further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried. B.
I'll make a motion that the schedule of meetings and events outlined in the November 12th, 2025 report from the CEO be approved for December 10th, 2025 with the amendment as recommended by Director Mawhinney.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried. Director Lanyon?
Number 9, 2025 to 2026 preliminary budget surplus report. I move that the report from the CAO be received.
Second.
Discussion?
Mr. Chair, what I said 2 minutes ago.
There we go.
Thanks, everybody. We'll pull the report up here, and it's going to be pretty much very similar to the one you saw last year. I didn't bother changing the titles or anything, so just a quick recap. The first step of our budget process with the board is to kind of dip into the surplus, and we do a bit of an estimate to go through, and this kind of provides a little temperature gauge for what you're going to see in the upcoming budgets. So the first thing we like to comment on is just the three big myths we see here in local governments. The first is the fact that assessment increase automatically translate to a property tax increase. The fallacy here is most people think property taxes work like sales taxes or your income taxes that have a fixed percentage rate. So if you take PST, for example, at 7%, we're in an inflationary environment, so as the cost of goods go up, the governments automatically collect more money, but that's not the case with property taxes. So all local governments essentially figure out how much money they need, then they set that tax rates accordingly. What we've seen historically, especially in the last couple of years, is even though our spend is going up, the property assessments are going up at a faster rate. So we've actually been seeing declining tax rate, but it's always a question mark for a lot of the public. The second big myth is that CPI equals your local government price index, or the price they see from the government should, when they do the CPI release, should reflect what they see in the next year's budget. The CPI is actually a theoretical basket of good that by design doesn't change. So you're essentially spending the same amount each year, but in practice, everybody's spending is variable, so prices will go up. So, for example, if you have CPI in consulting or mechanics wages, but you end up repairing more stuff, your costs will actually go up at a higher rate than the actual hourly rate. And then why we're here today is to discuss the surplus equal profit. We get a lot of that where people see our surplus reports and they equate them to net income like you'd see in a private sector, and that's not the case. So this slide is just to highlight the main characteristics of what a surplus is. It's primarily a timing difference, as we'll get into. It's the difference between when we collect money on behalf of a taxpayer and spend it on their behalf. The second aspect is it's cumulative. We carry forward the same dollars every year. Anytime you see a surplus amount, you can't take all the surpluses for the last 5 years, add them together to figure out how much money you have in the bank. It works a little bit different than that. And the third point is the surplus is actually inevitable. It's how the whole system is designed. It's not really a flaw of it. Again, a lot of people equate surplus to surprise money or extra money, and that's just not to be the case. Kind of a better term for it is just not yet spent working capital, but doesn't really roll off the tongue. So this slide is just to focus on the timing. You can consider this either an annual project budget, how the funds flow over a life of a service, or an individual project. A surplus exists just because you have an arbitrary reporting date in the middle of the cycle. It's no different. A lot of our projects don't start and end on a calendar year, so we're legislated to establish budgets, tax for them, and then spend them. And staff doesn't have authority to spend over what you've authorized in the financial plan. So generally speaking, the budgets have to be accommodative to do all the expenditures, because you don't want to put a service on hold mid-year waiting for a budget amendment. Next slide, this is just to show the effect of a contingency. So in the report, the narrative you've read, it speaks a lot to contingencies in the budget, and the point of this slide is just to highlight the fact that they're not cumulative. So this one takes the contingency for repairs and maintenance into consideration. So when you start out, you essentially establish the contingency budget, and that's the green dotted line on this. That's kind of the amount you see in the budget. So in the year one, you establish it, but in year 2 and 3, it doesn't really change. So this is where you're carrying the surplus across. A lot of people think by the end of year 3 that they've seen an unspent budget for $10,000 that they think you might have $30,000 in the bank. That's just not the case. So year 3 happens, you have a major repair, and then year 4 you have the major repair. In year 5, you got to tax to collect that to replenish that spending. So that's another area where the confusion lies, because people will see a $10,000 budget, a $10,000 a year budget. But even though the budget's not changing, your taxes do go up and down. So the report we do tries to analyze all those ins and outs to try and determine the region for them. And the last point is in year 8, as your assets age or become older and parts become more expensive, your contingency budgets tend to increase to address that risk. So that's why if you look at all local governments, anytime any type of historical record, you'll generally see surplus growing and growing year after year. And it primarily just addresses the increased costs and increased risks. So it's all to be expected. This is the one new slide for this year, and it's just kind of a quick commentary on how to read the report, everything we're looking at. So what we're analyzing is the difference between those two numbers, and this slide actually does a really good job of highlighting where the confusion arises, because if you think of like an income statement in the private sector, it doesn't mix in prior year income or loss, so to speak, with current year numbers. So again, it's what we're looking at is the difference between those 2 years. And I guess the other thing is the transfers to reserve. It sometimes fools people. You don't really see that as an expense in the private sector. But as I say, a lot of people might look at this and say, if you had $116,000 surplus last year and $110,000 this year, you have in excess of $220,000. But again, this is not the case because we carry it forward year over year. So surplus is essentially timing difference is more of a budgetary issue, so it doesn't really affect service delivery. So it's a question of why I look at the report, and it's just proves to be a good temperature gauge for the upcoming budget. Sometimes it's more beneficial to roll out new spending or programs when it's more favorable financial position. Staff have to go through all this to, look at the numbers just to see if the surpluses are permanent or temporary. We effectively don't want to, increase taxes or decrease taxes just because spending happens in the first week of January versus the last week of December. So we try and do a bit of analysis there. Is that one arbitrary date has a pretty big impact. And the last point we do it is we just do it to assess the risk. Again, we should see, services with growing or aging infrastructure, the ones that become more risky, have a growing surplus. We're looking for one big time events that affect the surplus, just to make sure that we're addressing risks accordingly. So if you take all these services and add them up in the report, you're going to get these lines. So the bold black line is our total cumulative surplus. Then I just broke it down between the electoral areas and their regional services. So the electoral areas is the bottom line, the dashed line there in green. It's more or less flat just because we had a big buildup going into COVID. So COVID served to increase our surpluses quite a bit, and now they're just kind of normalizing through requisition smoothing and everything else. We've kind of held that line steady. One would kind of expect that to be drifting upwards, but like I say, when we looked through it analyzed it, is not too much of a concern. And then the blue line is just for the bigger regional services, and then that is just, we're just essentially saving up funds before we deploy them. So the big part of that bump there would be your broadband. We just have some big flow throughs and some general admin where we just had a deferred rollout with the regional fire and such. So we use the reserves to kind of smooth everything out, but everything looks relatively stable. So that's it for my report. And again, this is the surplus for the entire organization. We have the meetings coming up in December with the gardens and the individual in East, as well as the individual directors, which we'll get into the detail of the bulk of the report. But if there's any questions or comments on the all the board services, now would be a good time to cover.
Any questions? No? Okay, well, thank you very much for the presentation.
So you've got receipt ready for a vote.
On receipt, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Rice, number 10, please. Appointment of elected officials 2026 local general elections. I'd like to move that the report from the Chief Administration Officer be received.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. I'd like to move item B, that Edith Elizabeth Watson, Manager of Corporate Operations, and Betty Ann Wasaloo, Corporate Services Assistant, be appointed as Chief Election Officer and Deputy Chief Election Officer respectively for the Regional District 2026 General Local Elections.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Sinnott, number 11.
Yes, thank you, Chair. It's regarding policy CP-039, employee service recognition, that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Second.
Director Wally, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
And I'll make a motion that policy CP-039, recognition of employee service, be approved, and that the policy entitled Long Service Retirement Recognition Program made effective by the Comox-Strathcona Regional District on December 16th, 1999 be revoked.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Lott, number 12.
Thank you, Chair. Number 12, receipt of petitions and policy alternatives. I move that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Discussion? All in favor? So who had discussion? Director Mulwany?
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate that staff has provided options on this report. I wasn't sure if either removing the ban on electronic petitions being received or keeping the policy unchanged for the time being really hit the mark as a solution. This discussion was sparked by an electronic petition, which the board received this spring, one which I believe we received as a list of signatories rather than as a petition. And I recall looking at that list of names, and many I knew that were Area C residents, but it looked on the petition like they resided elsewhere, and I wouldn't doubt that it's like funky rural internet that is to blame for some of that. I live on Quadra, but my internet thinks I live in Prince George, as an example. And if a petition autofills with information from your IP address, then it's unclear where you might actually be living. So I just think that there are a couple of considerations when we are considering this item, which are important to keep in mind, and that is, number one, that we live in a digital world, and where most of our daily communication is online and through social media. And number two, that the SRD is a really large region, and Area C alone is over 10,000 square kilometers of islands and inlets. And yes, people that live remotely want to participate in providing input to the board through a petition, which is what sparked this to begin with. So I was wondering if it would be more appropriate to set out guidelines in the policy for the fields required in cases of electronic petitions, or an acknowledgement in the policy that the board will consider receipt of an electronic petition as a list of signatories rather than a petition. And we did have an option in a previous report which stated that policy CPO-16 be amended to allow the receipt of non-compliant petitions in such circumstances as the board may determine from time to time. I think that option seems reasonable, but I would be interested in offering that one, and also adding that staff amend the policy to include best practice guidelines for electronic petitions, so that if they are happening, then our website and our policy would direct residents on how best to make them happen. I'm curious what other directors think.
Further discussion? Anyone? Director Davis?
I know when you sign petitions online, they usually ask for your postal code, which actually gives you a location, so that's helpful.
Director Sinnott?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just for staff, the impact of receiving a petition, does it trigger a minor duty or a significant duty, if any, with respect to our governance? Because I think the requirement for validity bears a relationship to what seriousness that this can create.
Mr. Chairman, if I could jump in, there is no legal requirement for the board to do anything with respect to petitions submitted either on paper or electronically. So the answer is no. There is no legal requirement to do anything with it, even if it is received.
Thank you.
Director Mawhinney?
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate that information from our corporate officer. And following receipt, I would be interested in moving option A, that the policy regulating the receipt of petitions be amended to remove the ban on electronic petitions.
I think we're still on receipt. Yes. So on receipt, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Now options. Director Mawhinney?
Thank you, Chair. I will move option A, that the policy regulating the receipt of petitions by the board be amended to remove the ban on electronic petitions being received by the board.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? One opposed? The motion is carried. Director Mawhinney, number 13.
Oh, thank you. Regional District Policy Review, Part 4. I will move that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Discussion? Director Mawhinney?
Thank you, Chair. I would like to move that this item is referred to the Electoral Area Services Committee for consideration.
All right, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Lanyon, number 14.
Thank you, Chair. Invoices over staff signing authority payment authorization. I move that the report from the CAO be received.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
And B, that invoice number 20460 dated October 31st, 2025 in the amount of $360,311.28 from Edgett Excavating Limited for work done on the Electoral Area D Universal Water Metering Project be approved for payment.
Second. Wow, that was a race. I'll let Mr. Yates pick.
I heard Director Rice.
You picked? There you go. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
And C, that invoice number 589 dated October 31st, 2025 in the amount of $311,033.29 from Broad Street Properties Limited for work done on the construction of the Just Like Home project be approved for payment.
Second. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Mawhinney, number 15.
Thank you, Chair. Temporary use permits as housing supports. I'll move that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
I'm sorry, who seconded that? Director Wally? Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
I will move that a report be prepared on the topic of temporary use permits being used by local governments to support tiny homes and recreational vehicle living accommodations, and that the report be returned to the Electoral Area Services Committee.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Senate, number 16, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'll make a motion under the Heritage Conservation Act amendments that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Second. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Number 17, Director Mawhinney.
Thank you, Chair. Request for financial assistance from the Quadra Island Conservancy and Stewardship Society. Move that the report from the CAO be received.
Discussion? Director Senate?
Yes, and thank you very much, Chair. I just wondered if we could have a little bit more background on this organization. I did a little research and looked at CRA's charity website. Couldn't see who the actual people were that were in control, and their website themselves had a broken link, so you couldn't see that. But it looks like an organization that was created in 1995. They received a piece of property at Mortlake. Their financial disclosures indicate they have about, last year, $18,000 in the bank. They'd received some grants the year before, so they had some bulge funding. Their expenses exceeded their operating expenses last year significantly. Not sure how they're on track this year. And they also manage a few covenants, and I just didn't know whether the director or staff know, are these covenants ones that are being recommended by our staff in terms of any development that's happening? And so this organization gets funding from the developers. We've seen that in Campbell River. Just wondering if at the long range, if they're holding property and it continues to cost the regional district or the people of Quadra Island through their contributions, a few $1,000s every year, is this not something that would be better transferred over to something like the Nature Conservancy?
Director Mawhinney.
Thank you, Chair. The Quadra Island Conservancy and Stewardship Society has existed for a very long time. They predate me on Quadra. And the main property that they hold is on Mort Lake. It's a very significant piece of recreational property that is used by many Quadra Islanders and many, many visitors as well. And it's actually the only private piece of property that's on the lake. And I believe that the society was created to fundraise to purchase that piece of property. As far as I know, the covenants that they hold, which are not many, are not that I'm aware of related to development. They believe that they're more related to conservation covenants, and I think that there's one on Cortez and maybe a couple on Quadra Island as well. And I actually think that this is a really good benefit for the community as far as the amount of economic investment that happens from visitors coming to Quadra Island and using our very extensive trail system, mountain bike trails and hiking trails, of which the Mort Lake Circle Route is definitely one of the crown jewels in our trail system. I think it's great benefit to the community. And as you'll note, if you read the attached report, there is actually a decrease in the insurance that they managed to acquire this year. So I'm very happy to support this motion. And I hope I answered all of Director Sinnott's questions. There was a lot there.
I guess I didn't realize there was a trail system, so I take it this insurance is liability for the owner if people get hurt on this recreational property? It just seems to me that recreational property is great, but this is going to be an ongoing cost. Maybe we should be looking at park dedication or some other purpose to bring it into a proper recreation use.
Okay, well, speaking to that question through the chair, I would just point to the letter that accompanied the application, which points that there are 600 members of the Quadra Island Conservancy. They also have received grant funding and have built a greenhouse on School District 72 property where they are starting and doing a native plant nursery for rewilding and supporting native plants, and also, I guess, teaching kids about that as well. So as far as I understand, the insurance is also to cover the greenhouse and the Mort Lake Trail. I'm not sure about the insurance of property users because the trails are maintained by the Quadra Island Trails Society, or Quadra Island Trails Group, I should say, which is under the umbrella of the Quadra Island Community Center. So I can't speak to whether the insurance is specifically for trails users. The application that they sent, it does say property and general liability, so perhaps that is a sufficient answer.
Yes, thank you very much. I just think that when you have a not-for-profit organization, they're coming for consistent operating costs, that there should be maybe a governance or planned review like we've been asking in the local area in Campbell River for the various not-for-profits to strengthen their operations and have clear direction of where they're going. Because I didn't realize there was this potential piece of property that I could potentially use. Maybe it should be integrated into other services where they can actually have members that have access or have ability to raise revenue. I just think that some people live in a mindset without thinking of the opportunities they could create with these properties. And perhaps it is a conservancy covenant. I don't know what's on this property. But but you say there's trails and things, so this is, and it's recreational. So I'm just questioning, I mean, just for the purposes of how we govern ourselves going forward with not-for-profits, that we look at how we can stand up organizations that are doing good things, and so long as they're aligned with your strategic priorities and your OCP, that's worthy. I'm just saying it's hard when we don't have that clarity of what the organization has for the future plans to be stronger.
On receipt, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Murwini.
I would like to move B, that a grant and aid for the Quadra Island Conservancy and Stewardship Society be paid from the Electoral Area C grant and aid budget in the amount of $1,340 to assist with liability insurance costs.
Second.
Dr. Von Esch, discussion. Director Chapman.
Chair, a question to staff. Is this a reoccurring expenditure or grant that we give every year?
Mr. Chair, and just looking at the letter that's attached here, it seems like they've got some grant funding before, but I don't know if it's an every year request. Just they seem to have got some money in the past.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? One opposed. The motion is carried. Bylaws, Director Von Esch.
Thank you, Chair. Bylaw number 598, Cortez Island zoning bylaw. Move that the report from the CAO be received.
Discussion?
I think I would speak to it. I assume there's going to be a staff presentation, or staff are here?
Staff can speak to it. It's a bylaw. We don't typically present bylaws, but we're happy to answer any questions, yeah.
Sweet, thank you. I just want to note we're at the last stage here of passing or potentially passing the Cortez Island zoning bylaw. It's been almost a 2-year process of community consultation, both online and in person. It's gone to the Advisory Planning Commission on Cortez, and it's gone through a public hearing at the beginning of September, and we had 140 plus folks attend that hearing, which is amazing. The reason I deferred it a month was that 200 pages of comments on this, and I wanted to take the time to read them all and to really assess what people's challenges and also what they like about the bylaw before making my own personal recommendation. And I want to kind of address some of the things that folks have brought up, and just to be clear and transparent for the public. One of the biggest issues that came up was aquaculture zoning. And there was concern on Cortez that this bylaw is creating new zones and changing the zoning, the aquaculture zoning in Cortez. And I just want to reiterate what staff have said, that this is really just falling in line with the provincial zoning, and that there are no new changes to it. It's just sort of updated maps. So I want to clear that. Another challenge that folks had was the agricultural 1 zoning. Again, this is a zoning from the province. It was established in the 1970s. Some of the lines, when you look at the map, they seem a bit arbitrary, and when folks look at it, they're like, why is there this circled line on my map? And again, similar to the aquaculture zoning, this is zoning that was set by the province, and we're just updating our maps and making sure that we get it right. So there's no room for us to adjust that. This is provincial zoning, and staff feel free to correct me if I'm saying anything wrong here. So, those are 2 big issues. Another big issue were folks on the original version that went to public hearing. There was concern around private moorage on boats. And a lot of folks concerned that they would lose their liveaboard situation, or that they weren't allowed to have private moorage. I appreciate staff, adjusting the definitions and making it clear that long-term moorage is allowed. Like a lot of things in government, there were folks in this zoning bylaw who said, we don't want any more density on Cortez. And there were also people who said, this isn't enough. And I appreciate both sides, and I think the moderate increase in density here is wanted by the majority of the community and is fitting of the consultation process that's been gone through. Big notable changes, I think, are on properties that are eligible to have a second cottage. That cottage size is being increased from 600 square feet to 1,200 square feet. So that, sort of allows some more family housing. And like all housing sort of in the private sector, some of that housing will end up being holiday housing. Some of that housing might turn into Airbnbs. Some of that housing might turn into long-term rentals. And I think it'll probably end up being a mix, but I think there's strong support on Cortez to allow more family-type housing. So I appreciate that, even though not everyone agreed with that. There's a lot of conversation around aquifers and can we on Cortez even increase density and what's our aquifer situation. And knowing this was an issue, about a year ago we started a process where we wrote a grant and did an aquifer study and had GWS Solutions come in from Nanaimo and assess our watersheds and assess our aquifers. And that report came back in the summer. I think was a big decision for folks around whether they could support more density. And I was happy to see that overall in Cortez that the density that this new zoning bylaw calls for or allows is in line with the results from the aquifer study, and that overall we're sitting pretty good on Cortez with our water. There are a few problem areas that were noted in the report, but I think that it provided a lot of relief to residents, and that's a report that I'll be bringing to the board to have on record here. Another thing that folks brought up was, it's been, I think it's 20 years or 2002 is our last OCP. So we're 23 years into our OCP. And in a lot of ways, our 2002 OCP was more progressive or more in line with the community than our zoning, which was even older. So there was a call in the public hearing from a lot of folks to update our OCP. So I think that's on the books for 2026. So I'm glad that's going to be happening because there's certainly been a call for that. There were some folks who wanted noise control in the bylaw, and there were some in the original bylaw. There were some language around nuisance noise. But if we wanted to pursue a noise bylaw, we'd have to create a separate bylaw. I don't think there's the will on Cortez at this moment to do that. But noted that some folks would have liked to see that included. I think overall, people appreciated that there's going to be increased density allowed for the Cortez Housing Society on their Rainbow Ridge property. Again, not everyone's in complete agreement, but I'm really excited about that. Part of the housing needs on Cortez is increasing our nonprofit housing, and I'm excited that they're moving forward with 24 units on part of their property. I think that's, obviously doesn't cover every concern or every comment that everyone had, but it covers a lot of the bigger comments. I just want to give staff an opportunity to, correct me if there's anything that I got wrong or add to anything that I've said. I'm seeing a shaking of heads.
Silence is golden.
Silence is golden. So, yeah, thank you very much. And just, huge appreciation to both Aniko and Annie for spending the time on Cortez and hearing people's concerns and replying to the diversity of emails that came through and getting us to this point. And I hope that the board can support in moving this bylaw forward and making it law.
On receipt. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B.
I'll move that the report on the public hearing for bylaw number 598 and all related records be received.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
I'll move that bylaw number 598 be given third reading.
Discussion? Director Lanyon?
Sorry, I might have tuned out just, and I should have actually raised my hand for discussion on the previous item. But I just wanted to could you recap your comments on the level of support or opposition that you've had on the short-term rentals aspect of this? I saw there's a fair number of comments in the emails about that, and one in particular on page 24 from Deanna Collins, where she makes some great arguments about the need for their availability for tradespeople and things coming over to the island. And Yeah, so just curious what your thoughts are.
Yeah, thank you, Director Lanyon, for the question. Yeah, there is a diversity of opinions on short-term rentals on Cortez. This new zoning bylaw allows short-term rentals in all zones. And the primary residence requirement for short-term rentals has nothing to do with this bylaw. So it's a separate issue, which, I acknowledge there's differing opinions on that, but as far as this bylaw is concerned, it's not relevant.
This doesn't change the original implementation of the provincial rules on short-term rentals in any way?
No, the Short-Term Rental Act, the primary residence requirement that Cortez has opted into is separate.
Okay, so all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
I'll move D, that bylaw number 598, being Cortez Island zoning bylaw 2025, be reconsidered, finally passed, and adopted. Just note, this is just for electoral areas voting.
Point of order, Chair. I think he missed C.
I missed C? No, I think we
No, we did C.
did C.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we didn't vote on it because Director Lanyon.
Actually, that's
No,
right.
we
I don't think
voted on
did.
it.
We did?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, we voted on it. So we're on D. All in favor of D? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Rice, number 2. Bylaw number 625, the Oyster River Bank Protection. I'd like to move that the report from the Chief Administration Officer be received. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. I'd like to move item B, that third reading of bylaw number 625 be rescinded. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. I'd like to move item C, that subsection 1 of section 1 of bylaw number 625 be amended by inserting the words as set out in bylaw number 1171 so that subsection reads as follows. 1, that the boundaries of the service as set out in bylaw number 1171 are hereby amended to include all of the areas shown outlined in bold appendix A attached to and forming part of this bylaw. Second. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. I'd like to move item D, that bylaw number 625 be given third reading as amended. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Marwini, number 3.
Thank you, Chair. Bylaw number 627, Wood Chipping and Climate Resiliency Service. I'll move that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer is received.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
I'll move B, that bylaw number 627, being a bylaw to authorize the provision of a wood chipping and climate resiliency service within parts of the regional district, be now introduced and read a first time.
Second.
Director Von Esch, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
I will move C, that the rules be suspended and bylaw number 627 be given second and third readings.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
I will now move D, that electoral approval of bylaw number 627 be authorized to be attained by assent voting held in conjunction with the 2026 general local elections, and that the results of the vote in each electoral area be combined for the purpose of determining if electoral approval has been obtained throughout the proposed service area.
Second.
Director Chapman, discussion?
Chair, if I may.
Director Von Esch?
Thank you, Chair. Just for folks online and listening in on this, this is the final stage of moving forward a wood chipping and climate resiliency service, and basically this is sort of roughly $40-ish for the average property per year that would
Maximum.
That would cover a wood chipping service, which has been hugely popular and part of Climate Smart, or not Climate Smart, Fire Smart, fire smarting properties. and then also funds used in projects that will help directly decrease greenhouse gas emissions in electoral areas B and C.
Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Davis, number 4.
Bylaw number 628, Director.
Your microphone, please. Thank you.
Bylaw number 628, Director Compensation Amendment. The report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
B, that bylaw number 628, being a bylaw to amend the compensation provisions for directors on the regional board, be now introduced and read a first time.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
C, that the rules be suspended and bylaw number 628 be given second and third readings.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
D, that bylaw number 628, being director compensation bylaw 2013 amendment number 12, be now reconsidered, finally passed, and adopted.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Correspondence. 1 through 12 be received.
I'd like to pull number 4, if I may, Chair.
Yeah. Discussion?
I'd like to pull 1.
1 and 4.
Move all the others.
Move all the others, thank
No.
you.
No.
No? Director
I'd like
Rice?
to pull 2, 7, 8, and 9.
2, 7, 8, and 9. 1, 4, 2, 7, 8, and 9. 5, 6, 10 to 12 be received. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Number 1, Director Von Esch.
Thank you, Chair. I think this is correspondence that's come in from folks that are concerned about municipalities joining the electoral area planning service. This is
I'm sorry. We didn't do a motion to receive.
Oh.
Motion to receive. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Oh, who made the motion? We did have a motion. We're confused.
We're on number 1, we're receiving number 1.
Yeah, we're receiving number 1.
I'll move receipt on number 1, electoral area land
Okay,
use planning.
thank you. Thank you. Discussion? Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Just, wanted to note the concerns of rural people in the regional district around municipalities joining the rural planning service. Folks are very concerned about the possibility of land use decisions being made by people that don't live in that area. And there's also been concern around, lack of First Nations consultation on the issue as well. And that this is, these are big things that are being considered, and there's a lot of concern. There's a lot of concern in my community. These are 4 letters, but I know there's been I've received a ton of correspondence, and I know the City of Campbell River has received a lot of correspondence as well. And I'm just wondering if staff can provide an update on the engagement with other municipalities in the SRD on this.
I have, Mr. Chair, I've presented to the Village of Sayward. I am queued up for the Village of Tassis later this month and Zabalis early December. Haven't heard back from Gold River or Campbell River.
Thank you. And just wondering from Campbell River folks, if there's any more comments you want to make, or if there's any sort of new information that you want to share that.
So yes, I have a couple comments, and we still don't have a report from staff at the City of Campbell River. So first of all, it would be converted from electoral area land use planning to regional planning, as I understand it. Is that a regional planning service?
Well, what we label it and call it, We have traditionally called it Electoral Area Planning Service, but it's just the planning service technically.
Thank you. But the point being, it's a regional lens, potentially, if this ever becomes with more municipalities going on to it, to deal with the regional issues that were brought to light at a recent Comox Strathcona Waste Management. When we received the report on asset management and how they're driving asset management, they're referring only to regional plans, and the only place that has a regional plan is the Comox Valley. So whatever the Strathcona Regional District wants.
I want to note that we can have a regional growth strategy without you joining our planning service and without Campbell River paying $500,000 a year to be able to vote on planning decisions in the rural areas. So, that's something I'm certainly interested as well. I can see the benefit, but it doesn't need to happen inside this service.
Director Wally?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just want to point out to the board that regional growth strategies has absolutely nothing to do with the planning service. It's non-part 14, which you're already all a part of now. So if you want a regional growth strategy, that's where you go to. This planning service is part 14, so it's got nothing to do with the regional growth strategy.
Anybody else? Director Mawhinney?
Thank you, Chair. I would echo the comments of Director Van Ashen that this item has caused a high level of concern in Area C and on Quadra Island, and really the comments that are made in these 4 letters here really represent, by and large, every single thing that I have heard. People living in rural communities deserve to have their opinions and concerns listened to and acted on by officials that they elect, and officials that are living in municipalities or Campbell River do not live in these unique rural communities. They want their voices represented by electoral area directors. And I would also note that I think the reason it's called electoral area land use planning is because it manages lands that are in the electoral areas. The planning service that we're discussing here does not manage lands within municipality boundaries, so it's only lands within electoral area land areas. So I think that's why it's called the EA land use planning.
Director Davis, then Director Rice.
Oh, sorry, I just hadn't turned it off.
Okay, Director Rice?
Thank you, Chair. I read these correspondence too, and I would agree that electoral area planning does fall back on the area director. Now, if that was what has happened at East, that would be great, but that's not what's happened. And you all know that. Thank you.
Director Wally, then Director Von Esch.
In response to Director Rice, I'll just point out to the board, there has never been a application made by an electoral area director that in its finality has been denied. There was one a couple of years ago that was postponed until the OCP was amended to reflect what the director wanted, and then it was approved. So there's never been anything that has been rejected by another director.
Director Von Esch, then we'll call the question.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just responding to that there has been some sentiment that rural directors are anti-development and that we're making bad decisions. It's 3 years of developments that have gone through. There's been one that was denied. It was on Quadra Island. It went through a public hearing. It was a hard no from the public, and I would encourage that developer to come back with a proposal that allows him to subdivide and create new lots, but also has some benefit for the community. So in 3 years, there's been one denial. So this idea that we're anti-development or that we're against development is false. There's been one that's been denied, and primarily because it failed public hearing in a big way.
Director Lanyon, then we'll call the question.
Thank you, Chair. Just need a balanced view here. So, we know as board members here that there has been a very strange dynamic, particularly early on in the term, which essentially held Area D hostage to full agreement on all things electoral area at the expense of if they doesn't, then don't expect support. So I felt that dynamic. I could see it from across the table. That's what we're trying to mitigate in part. The other part is we are moving towards a more regional approach in order to get Campbell River taxpayers' value for the millions of dollars that they have put into this organization over the years that are not met with return in value. So this is a big equation. I can understand the myopic view of stay out of our planning. I understand that. But there is a larger long-term strategy at play for growing the economy of this region. So if you are operating as individual fiefdoms, that will not work. But there's still more to be said. There's more for us to learn. So there's more discussion to be had, but open your view.
Okay, so on number 1, receipt, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Number 2, Director Rice.
Like to move item 2 for receipt.
Second.
Discussion? Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. So this was a grant request that came to Area D, and it was a lot more money than what I would have given. When I took a look at the organization, so this is CR Pause, they do work for the entire region. So I thought it was more appropriate to refer this back to the board with the hopes that perhaps maybe they would receive a regional grant instead of an electoral grant. Their ask was $4,000. I do know that this particular organization is quite active. They do good work. They do work, throughout the SRD. So I do think that it's something that is worthwhile to support, and I will be having a motion to support their grant request. Thank you.
Okay, on receipt, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Go ahead.
So I'd like to move a motion that this organization do receive the $4,000 grant that they're asking for.
Second?
I'll second, and I have a question.
Discussion. Go ahead.
We usually state source of funds. Do we have a source of funds?
I think he was referring to the regional grants and aid.
So is there money in that fund?
I think there is, but the following report, if I guess we can ask our CFO if what the current balance is. Typically, we would come back with a report saying there was a request for regional grant and aid. It's for X amount of dollars. There's Y amount of dollars in the report. But I was unaware that we were going to make a request for regional grant and aid, but I will see if our CFO can tell us what the regional grant and aid balance is right now.
33,215.
There you go.
And just to follow up, it's not yet allocated, so that's available for this particular purpose, and that's till the end of December, or till what fiscal year end?
End of December, yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay, Director Wally.
I'm a little bit concerned that grants and aids that come to individual directors, electoral area directors, that they don't feel that they want to fund are passed off to the regional district. And I'm skeptical that this organization in Area D has any real benefit to the vast majority of electoral A or Quadra Island or Cortez or Tassos or Zabalos or any place else. So my preference would be that this would be referred back to the electoral areas and be treated as electoral area grant and aid.
Thank you. Director Rice.
Thank you, Chair. This is not an Area D organization. So I believe that they're situated in Campbell River, and they do support the regional district, and they have Facebook groups. They do a very good job. I don't see any reason to refer this back to EASC because I don't have the money in my budget to even consider it anyways. So.
Okay, Director Mulvaney, then we'll call the question.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to bring to Director Rice's attention that Quadra Island has a society called the Quadra Cat Rescue, which I do provide funding for through the Electoral Area C Grant and Aid budget. And they provide a trap, neuter, spay, release. They feed cats. They also support folks who have a cat and maybe it needs to be spayed with low income or supported spay and neuter programs. And they do a lot of fundraising in the community. The grant and aid funding that we provide them here is a fraction of what they receive. So I think, according to the letter that is attached to this item of correspondence, which came as an item of correspondence, it talks about the tremendous amount of work that they do in Area D. it doesn't mention anything beyond that. Maybe they do also serve Campbell River. Thank you.
Okay, call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Director Kerr, you're in favor? Thank you. Okay, the motion is carried. Number 4, Director Mawhinney.
Thank you, Chair. This is the Climate Leadership Funding Request. I will move receipt of the correspondence for the Vancouver Island and Coastal Communities Climate Leadership Steering Committee.
Discussion? Director Mawhinney?
Thank you, Chair. We at the SRD are one of the regional districts who participate in this committee. I'm happy that we do because the intent of it is to strengthen relationships among municipalities and regional districts and urban and rural communities, and really look for value on ongoing interregional coordination. So in the correspondence, it has an ask of $4,200, which I would like to move forward with following receipt. And I note that we did pay out we did support this group previously. I think that the ask was double that, and they've found efficiencies, although I can't speak to exactly what happened because I'm not the appointee on that committee, but nonetheless, I would like to support them. Thank you.
Okay, call the question. Director Lanyon?
We're just on receipt, I guess, eh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, on receipt. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Mawhinney?
Thank you, Chair. I would move that $4,200 be provided to the Vancouver Island and Coastal Communities Climate Leadership Steering Committee to be paid from regional grant and aid funds.
Second.
Discussion? Director Lanyon?
So I'm looking at the affiliations here, and we're currently in an economic crisis in BC, and this is the kind of partnership that helps add to that pain and suffering in the woods. I understand, there's some good people on this. This is not something I want to be funding as an SRD who's also trying to advocate for industry right now. So I will vote against.
Thank you. Further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's defeated. Number 7, Director Rice.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to draw attention to this item that when Ben left the executive committee at the Vancouver Island Library Regional Service was asked to support two of the current directors that they have for interim positions. The executive committee did approve that. And at our last executive committee, we just promoted these two people to higher positions. So that's what this letter is about, that there is a new executive director, and it's somebody that has been with the Vancouver Island Library for quite a few years, and it was well supported throughout the entire board.
So motion to receive.
Move receipt.
Second. Director Mawhinney, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried.
I'd like to move number 8 for receipt.
Second.
Director Wally, discussion? Go ahead.
I just wanted to quickly speak on this. I think if you open up the correspondent, you're probably wondering what was all of this. I won't speak to the details of Port Alberni itself. I understand that this is a little bit more than I'm aware of, but essentially this motion that came from their mayor and council was deemed out of order. I think that was appropriate. That was the decision that was made at the Vancouver Island Library Board. I don't see why we would take direction from mayor and council from another place. So anyways.
Thank you. Further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried. Do you want to move 9, please?
I'd like to move number 9 for receipt.
Second.
Director Mawhinney, discussion? Go ahead. Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to quickly speak on this. I won't go into the details, but this was a correspondent that came back from UBCM. I'm happy to see it. It means that we do get an opportunity to take a look at the mobile parks in Area D. And I won't have a motion. I think speaking to staff, we'll probably start this with a private meeting with the people that are affected by this. But it is good to know that the housing minister paid attention to this. Thank you.
Okay, on receipt, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Okay, we do not, we already had the director's report. New business.
I think there's a
Wait.
director's report for me.
Sorry,
The second item under the director's report.
I forgot. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is a follow-up from last meeting where I made a motion. It was deferred over to this meeting as a notice of motion. And it's basically a motion that I'll read out now. It's regarding that the regional district investigate the feasibility of establishing a regional primary care support service under the Local Government Act to assist with recruitment, retention, administrative support for family physicians and other primary care providers within the Strathcona Regional District. And that this investigation include consultation with other Ministry of Health officials to determine required statutory or policy permissions for regional participation in health service delivery. Island Health regarding partnership frameworks in alignment with existing primary care networks and attachment initiatives. And the Campbell River District Division of Family Practice and other local medical stakeholders to identify needs, barriers, and opportunities. And that the scope of the review include potential service models, including regional hub or hybrid distributed models, estimated administrative support costs, like there was an example of $8,000 per physician per month raised by one of the local physicians, governance and risk management frameworks, including the use of indemnification and liability protection under the Local Government Act, possible funding and cost-sharing mechanisms with Island Health, the Ministry of Health, or participating municipalities, and any required legislative or regulatory amendments or ministerial approvals, and that staff report back to the board with findings, options, and recommendations for next steps, including potential service establishment processes by the spring of 2026. And further, that the chair be authorized to communicate with the board's intent to explore a collaborative regional approach to primary care access with the Minister of Health, the chair of Island Health, and the Campbell River Division of Family Practice.
Second.
So let me just speak to this. This arose because there was some discussions, I think, around UBCM that Colwood had established sort of a clinic to have internal recruitment and pay their physicians directly, because it's attractive to some physicians that they become less administratively burdened or they get the benefits of working for government. One of the reasons it's included in here is that there's some liability protection that physicians are acutely aware of if you are operating, but under the Local Government Act, we have a lot of liability protection, so there may be some attractive options in that regard. But there's also various different needs that our local physicians have, and it's interesting, last week I attended with Director Chapman and Director Lanyon to an Nanaimo Regional Hospital event where they were talking about things like recruitment. It wasn't my favorite event, but I've also have a further invitation coming up, I think on December 5th, during financial planning to another Island Health meeting. So I think there's some appetite to investigate improvement of healthcare delivery, and being at the more remote area of the island with more difficult cases, more trauma. As I was speaking to another physician, by the time they end up in Campbell River, people have been neglected so long that the cases are much more difficult. So if we can somehow regionalize and send delivery regionally or locum-based into the rural areas, we won't have such strains on our local system as it reaches into the interior of the center of town here. So these are all things I'd like to address, and I think it's worthy for us to deal with this. We have other initiatives with our health networks and things that we're looking at, but this, I think, could benefit the people of Campbell River greatly.
Thank you. Director Chapman.
The region greatly, sorry.
Director Chapman. She's done.
I agree with this resolution. I think eventually, when you look at the overall impact of the health administration in the province, it seems to be falling down around its own feet. None of the health authorities are operating efficiently or effectively. We are continuing with the homelessness issues. Local governments are picking up the major piece of the puzzle and working with it and trying to making it work. And this is just another part of, if you want it, you're going to have to provide it yourself, because the province so far, in my opinion, is proving that they're incapable of delivering this kind of service to all the communities. The recruitment aspect of it was particularly interesting in that the different strategies various communities are taking. We're not the only ones. We're not the only ones feeling the heat. And I think the sooner we get onto this, I think the better off our community is going to be. I don't know how many doctors are on Quadra or Cortez, but certainly, for the Campbell River area, where a lot of people come down from North Island for medical services, I think it's fitting that the regional district take a lead on the medical professional recruitment and retainment of doctors. Thank you.
Okay. Director Bonash.
Thank you. I appreciate the intent. We all want better healthcare. I'm questioning whether we want to start downloading what the province is responsible onto ourselves. The province is responsible for providing healthcare, and I would love to see us, hold the province more to the fire to do this. And also noting that in June, the province did launch a recruiting force to recruit new doctors and nurses. The September report said they'd received 1,400 new applications because of that. And they're really focusing on the U.S. pulling healthcare workers from there. I believe in the intent. I want more doctors and nurses here as well, paying each one from the taxpayers of the regional district $8,000 per person. Seems a big leap at this moment. I'd love to see more. What is the province already doing? What can we ask them to do that's being more specific to getting people into this region before we jump into starting a service that looks like it could be quite expensive? And again, just concerned around the SRD taking over the responsibility of the province. Where is this leading? Are we going to be, what's the next step to that, and what other services are we going to be starting to take over? So concern for taxpayers as well. But yeah, I believe in the intent. I want more doctors and nurses here too, and I think we need to do more to recruit people to this region. I'm not sold on the idea. I'm not sold either, but my first glance is that it's expensive, and what's already happening, and how can we put the fire to the province to step it up for this particular reason.
If I can, Mr. Chair, just to be clear, there's no expense under this model to the regional taxpayer. All the services that doctors bill and claim for, so for instance, Colwood, they're making those claims. So it's not like you're paying the doctor, but all those billable claims are going to the province and you're recouping that investment. So it's not looked at as like you're employing them, but the payment is coming from the billings.
So there's not going to be a cost to taxpayers for this?
Again, in the Colwood model is they're recouping through the billing. So if you're a doctor, you got to rent a facility, you got to hire staff, you got to hire an accountant, so on and so forth. In all your billings through your patients, all that money is recouped. So you get some for yourself, you pay some for rent. So what Colwood has exercised is that, well, look, we have a finance team that does billings. We can do that efficiently. We have the ability to combine those resources, take them away from the doctor. The doctor, in theory, sees more patients, which is good for the community, and the billings support all the expenses.
Okay, that helps a lot. I thought we're looking at $8,000 a physician that we were going to be paying for. I'm willing to support this. I think it's something that we should at least look at. Again, I think the bigger concern is this is the provincial government's responsibility, and if the provincial government isn't doing it properly, then we need to hold the fire to them, whether that's through in the next election or through the advocacy that we can do. Thanks.
Hey, Director Chapman.
Thank you, Chair. I agree with Director Von Esch. This is the provincial responsibility. So is the social health or welfare of citizens. They've fallen down on that. Municipalities have taken up that because we can't stand by anymore and watch the system fail miserably. I agree that, the COVID experience has shown that, doctors that go to school to learn how to be a doctor, not how to administer a business. And suddenly, same with the lawyers, they graduate, they want to practice law, they want to practice medicine, but hold it, now I have to run a business. I've got payroll to meet, I've got bills to pay. And I think I agree with what our CAO said, that we can focus the doctors on doctoring and less on administration work to run their business, we're going to be better off. The province somehow cannot see that. The province has always treated the doctors as contractors. They don't, and that's the only way they deal with them. That hasn't worked well. It's marginally successful. We want something much better. And there are models out there that are working better. And this is a report on the feasibility of establishing this. And I would like to see how that would look. And I think this is very important, probably one of the more important things that we can do other than the projects we have going on for just like home and the workforce housing. This is very, very important. It's a regional issue, and I think the Colwood experience is proving successful, and I think we're going to be successful as well.
Thank you, Director Spine.
Yeah, thanks. So I can speak a little bit about this. I have a lot of physicians in my immediate family. They affectionately call me the black sheep. So most of the doctors I'm related to, they're all scattered throughout Western Canada. Island Health is notorious, in their words, as being the worst employer out of all the health authorities in BC. And anything we can do to help bring in physicians to this area, we need to do. And one of the things that my sister talks about all the time, she's employed through the university, because the model of running a clinic in today's day and age is just not, it's not worth their time, and it's not worth the money. It's too much overhead, and it's too much time. So if we can take that model away and just have the physicians come and work, it's a huge advantage to them. This would be a big draw. The second thing is, I know the province has gotten a ton of applications. Applications don't turn into hires. They're just applications. So I'm very much in support of this. I think we need to get ahead of the problem.
Thank you, Director Mawhinney.
Thank you, Chair. I really appreciate the concern of Director Sinnott for ensuring that there are adequate primary care providers in our region. I understand that, and I know that it's one of our strategic priorities to support initiatives that improve health and well-being in our communities. But while I do appreciate the sentiment and concern that this extensive motion likely stems from, I do have some concerns with the scope of it and the direction of it. The motion that we are discussing makes several assumptions that the SRD creating a service is the best solution to recruitment and retention of primary care practitioners. And just speaking to that, I was at the same healthcare summit in Nanaimo last week as Director Sinnott and Director Chapman, and I came back with a much different takeaway than Director Sinnott did. I had a lot of learning about the benefits of a community approach to recruitment and retention. And I would say that another assumption is that that somehow, although there are several provincial agencies already actively working in this field, they're not doing an adequate job, and that we will do a better job. It just feels to me like we have missed a few steps in the process. I guess my first thought is that there's no report accompanying the motion which lays out the rationale for the decisions within it. And I'm curious that the Community Health and Wellness Committee wasn't considered or didn't see this motion before it came to the board. And I really think that inviting Island Health and the Campbell River Division of Family Practice to a board meeting to speak as a delegation on the topic of primary healthcare practitioner recruitment and retention would be really beneficial. Because ultimately, there are already, according to this motion, 3 provincial agencies involved in healthcare. And I'm not sure that us inserting the regional district into what is clearly a provincial responsibility is the best decision without at least consulting and having a conversation with these other organizations that are actively working on recruitment and retention in our region. So, speaking to some of the other points that have been mentioned here, like sometimes we sit around this table and we decry the fact that there's downloading of provincial responsibilities. And here it seems that we're like moving in the opposite direction, just trying to take control of a provincial responsibility without even like asking for information from these agencies and asking them for information about what they're doing or how we as a board could support the work that they're already doing. So I just think that we're kind of like hopping over some of the pieces that would make sense to me. And, we have broken ground on our workforce housing. We haven't seen the results of how that will benefit our communities yet because it isn't going to be finished until next year. So I think that we need to meet and learn from the folks that are already doing the work every day and see what we can do to help and support them and work collaboratively with them before we try and step on toes. Thanks.
Director Chapman, then call the question.
Thank you, Chair. Hearing the comments from Director Mawhinney are somewhat concerning. What benefit would workforce housing would play? The city of Campbell River already rents two condos for workforce housing. And we've seen directly how that can affect a doctor coming in doing a locum, especially when we're tight on physicians. If we have one going away or leaving and someone coming in, it helps them come into the community and start working right away instead of trying to find a temporary place to work or a permanent place to work. At least this would give physicians an opportunity to come and work and then find a place to live if they like it here. So there are proven benefits, and to expand the workforce housing to what the regional district is working on, I think is going to be excellent. The province has, to say that it's a provincial responsibility for healthcare is not incorrect. But as I said before, they've proven themselves incapable. They mire themselves or wrap the bureaucratic blanket around them. And then next thing you know, we have paralysis by analysis. And we're not good at producing the results that the public wants. It's what the public needs and what the public wants. And if you look at all the health authorities, they're such a bureaucratic mess that we need to cut through that. We can wait 5 more years, and how many more people are going to die because they can't get medical service? I don't think we should wait. This is a really good start to investigate the feasibility of establishing a regional primary care support service. And I think it's worth exploring before trying to ditch it. Thank you.
Last comment.
Thanks, Chair. I just wanted to clarify my statement for Director Chapman, because I certainly was not intending to have anything negative to say about the workforce housing that we're doing or the workforce housing that Campbell River is already engaged with, because I think my statement was really trying to say that we are doing work and we haven't been able to see the return on that work because it isn't complete yet. So we're trying to do more, but we already have built workforce housing, which was intended from a regional district perspective to support healthcare in our region. And there's absolutely a need for it. So I'm not dismissing it, just to clarify.
Director Davis?
Thanks, Chair. I'll just keep this simple. I mean, we've had a lot of conversation about this. The whole intent of this motion is to investigate possibilities, and I realize this is staff time, but I think it's important that we at least look into this and see if there's some way we can help move things along, because I think everybody agrees the current model as it is not working. So, thanks.
Thank you. So all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. New business, none. Then none. Closed session. Let the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. That the meeting be closed to the public in order to consider matters deemed to fall within the parameters of subsections 90-1A, E, N, O, 90-2, B, and C of the Community Charter.
So moved.
Thank you. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. I know it's getting late, so I'll